Today's judgments by the High Court in Pietermaritzburg are paving the way for King Misuzulu kaZwelithini to ascend the throne. The court ordered the coronation of the king can go ahead. The application by first wife of the late king, Queen Siphamandla Goge, to inherit 50% of the late king's estate was also dismissed. Judge Mjabuliseni Madondo also ordered the suspension of the execution of the late king's will. Now that's in order to check whether his signature was forged. Senior reporter Siphamandla Goge has been covering court proceedings. He joins us now. So Sipa, this is quite complicated because there were three different matters, some of them kind of overlapping. Very interestingly though, even though the jury is still out on whether that signature is forged, the judge today finding it doesn't affect the succession issue. Am I right that that's the main takeout from today?
Indeed, that is the main takeout from today. Simply put, Judge Mjabuliseni Madondo was saying the issue of the king and the coronation and the throne is not in dispute. Nobody came to court to say I'm disputing King Misuzulu kaZwelithini as the rightful heir to the throne. Judge Madondo, when he was handing down that judgment, or when he was delivering that judgment, he said there were three matters before him. One was Queen Siphamandla of Pietermaritzburg Royal Palace, who wanted to inherit 50% of the late king's estate. Now, Judge Madondo was very quick to say, well, your application is premature because, one, we do not know how much you qualify to get from the late king's estate. That has not been dealt with by the executor. So for you to bring in this application is premature for now. So I'm dismissing that with costs. So that was matter number one. No, done and dusted. We moved to matter number two now, which was about the late king's will. But before we get to that now, Judge Madondo had to delve into the issues of succession within the Zulu royal family, outlining the background and how King Misuzulu, in terms of customary law, is the one who qualifies to be the next king of AmaZulu, reminding those who were present in court that his late mother, Queen Mantombi, her lobola was paid for by AmaZulu as a nation. She's of royal blood from Eswatini Kingdom, and then the late king also. So that gave way for King Misuzulu to inherit the throne in terms of the Zulu culture, protocol, traditions, and the way things are done, and that coupled with customary law. So he said King Misuzulu is an undisputed contender to the throne. You know, even those who were purported to be gunning for the throne, including Princess Magade, Judge Madondo saying, well, they do not qualify. Let's take a listen.
It is common cause that there's no contender to the Zulu royal throne. Prince Magade, who has been mooted as a possible contender, disavowed any claim to the throne or any intention to do so. As a consequence, Prince Misuzulu remains an undisputed successor to the Zulu throne.
Okay, let's focus now on King kaZwelithini Zulu's will, because there are questions around whether his signature was forged. There's a 2-week hiatus now while they actually consult handwriting experts. Tell us all about it.
So when it comes to the will of the late king, the judge said the two princesses, which are the late king's two daughters, were able to persuade the court to say this matter needs to be looked at thoroughly. So Judge Madondo said, okay, the issue of the signatures of the late king on that will have to be determined by a trial court, meaning they now need to submit a formal application that will deal with the validity and the authenticity of that will. In other words, they need to launch a formal new application now within 15 days of this judgment. If they fail to exercise their right, then this judgment or this order will lapse. But for now, the execution of the late king's will has been suspended, and respondent number 7 on the matter, which is Jerome Ngwenya, who is meant to execute that will, he has been interdicted from executing the will of the late king. So up until this period of 15 days expires, then the two daughters will have to file again another application that will deal now with the signatures. In other words, the court needs to identify and determine the validity of that will. Judge Madondo saying, well, some experts who were testifying or who submitted the applications here, the arguments argued that the signatures, they look similar. However, it could be interpreted otherwise. So there will be experts that will come in and basically unpack that signature and go through everything. So that application was granted to say, okay, the execution of the will be suspended for now. Let's take a listen to the judge.
In the result, I make the following order. 1. The execution of the last will and testament of the late His Majesty King kaZwelithini be and is hereby suspended pending the final determination of the action referred to in paragraph 3 of this order. 2. The seventh respondent be and is hereby interdicted and restrained from performing any functions or duties assigned to him in terms of the provision of the last will and testament of His late Majesty kaZwelithini Zulu. 3. The applicants are directed to institute an action challenging the authenticity and validity of the will referred to in paragraph 1 above within 15 days of this order, failing which the relief granted in paragraph 1 of this order shall lapse. 4. The costs are reserved for the trial court. And 5. The application for relief sought in prayers C, D, E, and F is dismissed with costs.
Gosh, Siphamandla, on the 12th of this month, it will be a year since King kaZwelithini Zulu died. It has been such a tumultuous 12 months for the Zulu Royal House. Has there been any reaction from the royal family, or perhaps the losing side, to what happened in court today?
By the look of things, Sally, it's going to be another long period because the legal battle is far from over based on what I'm getting from my sources. And there's an official statement that has just landed from the side that has lost here in court. The other side of the royal family has said, well, these cases and the judgments that were handed down today, they've got no bearing on the appointing of the king. So they say they will continue with the traditional ceremonies that are outstanding. And then on the 12th of March, they intend to announce a candidate for the position of the king. That tells you that this matter is far from over. Perhaps it's just the beginning. It may go all the way to the highest court in the land, which is the Constitutional Court. So the other side that has lost in court has reacted. They say, well, we have noted the judgments, but they mean nothing. We'll continue with our plans, and those plans include forging ahead with their plans to basically nominate another candidate rather than King Misuzulu to take over the throne on the 12th of March, which will be a year since the late king departed. On the other side, those who are sympathetic to King Misuzulu say these judgments have settled the matter. Judge Madondo was very clear that there is no issue, there is no dispute in terms of the throne. So it could pave the way for the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal to write to the national minister responsible for COGTA to ask her to write to the president and issue a certificate of recognition for King Misuzulu. But all of those processes are not going to be smooth. But Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, the traditional prime minister of the Zulu nation, has reacted. Let's take a listen.
There is tremendous relief within the whole Zulu nation following Justice Madondo's judgment today. We are grateful that he has laid to rest any argument that the king was not properly identified by the royal family as the rightful heir to the throne, and has made it very clear that His Majesty King Misuzulu kaZwelithini is indeed the undisputed successor to his father, King Zwelithini kaBhekuzulu. We trust that this will open the way for His Majesty our King to finally be coronated, as this is a legal formality. As Justice Madondo has confirmed, the king is already the de facto king of the Zulu nation, as I've always insisted. And then other people started accusing me of actually making a decision, as if that was my decision, not that of his father.
Chief Mangosuthu Buthelezi, thank you so much for bringing us the very latest from court. Senior reporter Siphamandla Goge there.